The moment I moved into the old Victorian house on Maple Street, I felt an unsettling chill that I brushed off as nerves. The place had character-creaky floorboards, peeling wallpaper, and a long, winding staircase that seemed to groan under its own weight. I loved it, despite the way the shadows danced in the corners of my vision. It started with the whispers. At first, I thought it was the wind, rustling through the trees outside. But as night fell, the whispers grew clearer, almost like hushed conversations floating up from the basement. I chalked it up to my imagination, fatigue settling in after a long day of unpacking. Still, every night, I found myself lying awake, straining to hear what they were saying. One evening, I decided to investigate. Armed with only a flashlight and a flickering resolve, I made my way to the basement door. The air grew heavier as I descended the stairs, the beam of light trembling with each step. The basement smelled musty, like old books and forgotten memories. I turned the corner and found a cluttered room filled with dust-covered furniture and cobwebs. That's when I saw a small, ornate mirror standing against the far wall, its surface tarnished but still reflecting a ghostly shimmer. As I approached, I felt an icy breath on the back of my neck. I whipped around, but the basement was empty. Heart racing, I turned back to the mirror. In its reflection, I saw not just my own startled face, but something else, a faint figure standing just behind me. A woman, dressed in tattered clothes, her features obscured by shadows. I stumbled back, crashing into a pile of old boxes. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, surrounding me like a cold fog. "Help us!" The voice beckoned, a soft, mournful sound. "Help us!" Panic surged through me, and I fled the basement, slamming the door behind me. I spent the next few days avoiding the place, but the whispers continued, creeping into my dreams, calling me back. I was haunted, unable to shake the feeling that I needed to return to the mirror, to understand what was happening. On the fifth night, the air felt electric, charged with anticipation. I knew I had to face whatever lingered in that basement. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves, and made my way down the stairs once more. The moment I stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted heavy, suffocating, as if the house itself was holding its breath. I approached the mirror, the whispers swirling around me like a dark cloud. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Long forgotten," the woman's voice replied, echoing through the damp air. "We seek to be remembered." Suddenly, the room grew cold, and the lights flickered. I watched in horror as the reflection in the mirror shifted, showing scenes of the past families laughing, children playing. But then the darkness crept in, swallowing the joy, leaving only the sorrow behind. I realized these were not just echoes. They were trapped souls, bound to this house by the weight of their forgotten lives. Desperate to help, I grabbed a dusty old journal that lay nearby, flipping through pages filled with faded ink. It told the story of the House family torn apart by tragedy, their lives cut short, their spirits unable to move on. I read their names aloud, each one falling like a prayer into the stillness. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me, a cacophony of grief and longing. But then, something shifted. The air grew lighter, the icy grip on my heart beginning to ease. I saw the woman in the mirror again, her face clearer now, sadness replaced with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice softer than before. The mirror shimmered, and in that moment, I understood sometimes all it takes to set a soul free is to remember them. As the whispers faded into a gentle hum, I felt a warmth enveloping me, a weight lifting from the house. The shadows retreated, and the oppressive air transformed into a gentle sigh of relief. I left the basement that night feeling changed, lighter. I knew I had helped them find peace, and as I climbed the stairs, the house felt different, alive, as if it had finally breathed in deeply after years of holding its breath. I smiled, knowing that the spirits would linger, but now as protectors of this place I called home. As the days passed, the atmosphere in the house shifted. It was as if a veil had been lifted. The whispers that had once haunted me now faded to a soft echo, lingering just at the edge of my awareness. I felt lighter, more at ease, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. One night, as I sat curled up with a book in the dim light of the living room, I noticed the shadows flickering along the walls, moving in a way that seemed almost purposeful. My heart quickened, and I looked up, half expecting to see the woman from the mirror. Instead, the room felt thick with tension, as if something was waiting for me to notice. I set the book aside and stood, moving toward the hallway. It was darker there, the corners obscured by shadows. I hesitated, a chill creeping down my spine. The house felt alive, but not in the comforting way it had before. There was a restlessness now, a pulsing energy that thrummed beneath the floorboards. As I reached the staircase, I heard it, a soft, melodic hum, rising from the depths of the house. It was hauntingly beautiful, yet tinged with sorrow. My feet moved on their own, drawn to the basement door, the source of the sound. I hesitated again, a primal instinct telling me to turn back, but curiosity pulled me forward. I opened the door, and the hum intensified, wrapping around me like a shroud. The basement was darker than I remembered, shadows pooling in the corners, thicker than before. I switched on the flashlight, the beam slicing through the darkness, illuminating the small mirror. But it looked different now, its surface rippling like water, reflecting not just my image but flashes of scenes that made my stomach churn. In the mirror, I saw the family from the journal, faces twisted in anguish, their eyes wide with desperation. They were trapped in a loop of torment, shadows flickering around them like chains. My heart raced as I realized that their plight hadn't ended with my recitation of their names. They needed more. They needed closure. The hum grew louder, urging me to step closer. I approached the mirror, feeling an electric charge in the air. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice trembling. The reflection distorted, and the woman appeared once more, her expression a mix of sorrow and determination. "Release us," she pleaded, her voice merging with the hum, forming a chilling chorus. "We cannot rest until the truth is known." I felt an overwhelming urge to help them, to dig deeper into the house's history. I turned to the journal again, flipping through its brittle pages, searching for more clues about the family and their tragic end. I began to piece together a story of betrayal and loss, of secrets buried in the very walls I was living in. As I read, I came across mentions of a hidden room, a place where the family had kept their darkest secrets. My pulse quickened at the thought. Could this be the key to freeing them? I knew I had to find it. I spent the next day scouring the house, searching for anything that might hint at the hidden space. I moved furniture, knocked on walls, and ran my fingers along the old wood, looking for an imperfection, a crack that might lead me to what lay beneath. The more I searched, the more I felt eyes on me, watchful, longing, urging me forward. Finally, in the study behind a large bookshelf, I discovered a loose panel in the wall. My heart raced as I pried it open, revealing a narrow passageway. Darkness loomed ahead, and a musty smell wafted out, but I felt compelled to enter. I grabbed the flashlight and stepped inside. The passage was cramped, the air thick and stale. I pressed on, my heart pounding with every echoing step. After what felt like an eternity, I reached a small, hidden room, the walls lined with dusty crates and forgotten belongings. It looked like a time capsule, filled with the remnants of lives once lived. In the center of the room stood an old trunk, its surface covered in dust but still intact. My hands trembled as I unlatched it and lifted the lid. Inside, I found letters, photographs, and a tattered quilt. The letters were filled with words of love and betrayal, detailing arguments, accusations, and ultimately, a final, fateful confrontation. As I sifted through the contents, the atmosphere around me began to shift. The air grew heavier, the shadows thickening until they swirled like a storm. I realized I was not alone. The spirits were with me, drawn to the revelation of their past. "Read them," the woman urged, her voice a whisper in my ear. "Let them hear the truth." I began to read aloud, the words tumbling from my lips, the tension in the air building as I recounted the family's struggles. Each letter told a piece of their story, a narrative woven with love, pain, and heartbreak. As I read, the room pulsed with energy, the shadows swirling around me in a frenzied dance. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and a gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing my flashlight. I was plunged into darkness, the shadows closing in like a suffocating embrace. I could hear the whispers rising again, a tumult of voices crying out in anguish. "Finish it!" the woman's voice urged, more insistent now, filled with urgency. I fumbled in the darkness, finally finding the flashlight again. Its beam flickered to life, illuminating the swirling shadows, revealing the anguished faces of the family I had come to know. I read faster now, pouring every ounce of emotion into their story, desperate to release them from the pain of their past. With each word, the shadows began to fade, the oppressive air lifting. I felt a surge of hope as the family's spirits gathered around me, their faces softening, the weight of their grief beginning to dissolve. But just as I thought we were nearing the end, a deep, low rumble filled the room, a dark energy swirling back, clawing at the edges of the light. I felt a presence, something darker, something that had clung to this house far longer than the family's sorrow. A chilling realization washed over me. This wasn't just about releasing the family. I was awakening something much older, a force that thrived on despair and chaos. Panic gripped me as the shadows converged, dark tendrils reaching out as if trying to pull me into their depths. The woman's voice broke through the chaos, a beacon of clarity in the storm. "You must confront it. We need you to fight for our freedom." The words ignited something within me. I clutched the letters tightly, my heart pounding in sync with the thunderous whispers. I could feel the weight of their anguish, their desire for release. I had to stand my ground. "Leave them alone," I shouted into the darkness, my voice steadying with determination. "You have no power here." The shadows recoiled, hissing, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. But I pressed on, holding the letters close. "I will not let you take them. Their story will be told." With that declaration, the air crackled with energy, the light from my flashlight growing brighter, pushing back the encroaching darkness. The swirling shadows hesitated, then surged forward with a furious howl, a whirlwind of despair. I braced myself, feeling the weight of the family's spirits behind me, lending me their strength. The letters glowed in my hands, shimmering with a strange light as I read the final passages. Each word resonated with power, echoing through the hidden room, amplifying the light until it burst forth in a blinding flash. The darkness screamed, a sound that reverberated through the walls, shaking the very foundation of the house. I felt the presence of the family surrounding me, their energies intertwining with mine, and in that moment, I knew they were ready to confront their past. As the blinding light surged, I closed my eyes, surrendering to the wave of energy that washed over me. I felt the darkness being pulled away, unraveling like thread from a tapestry, the weight of centuries of sorrow dissipating into the ether. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, the room was illuminated, the air light and clear. The oppressive shadows had vanished, replaced by a warm, golden glow. The trunk sat quietly, the letters scattered around it, their tales finally told. I stood there, breathless, surrounded by a stillness that felt like peace. The spirits were gone, but I could feel their gratitude lingering in the air, a sense of closure, of release. I had confronted the darkness, and in doing so, I had freed them from their chains. But as I turned to leave the hidden room, a new sound echoed through the house, a faint whisper, almost like a warning, beckoning me to remember that not all stories are finished, and some shadows may still linger, waiting for the right moment to return. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. I took a deep breath, the air still warm but tinged with an unsettling sense of awareness. The trunk, once a vessel of despair, now felt like a portal to something unknown. I stepped back, feeling the need to regroup. But just as I turned to leave, a chill washed over me, causing goosebumps to ripple across my skin. In that moment, I heard it, a soft, melodic hum once more. But this time, It was layered with a haunting undertone, echoing through the now-quiet basement. My heart raced. It was the same hum I had heard before, yet it felt different, darker, as if something was trying to re-establish its hold. I hesitated, my hand resting on the doorframe, torn between retreating to the safety of the upper floors and uncovering what lay ahead. The hum deepened, almost a siren's call, beckoning me back into the shadows. I couldn't ignore it. I needed to know if something still lingered in this house. Gathering my courage, I stepped back into the hidden room, my flashlight illuminating the corners where darkness still pooled. I noticed the letters scattered on the ground, their edges fluttering as if caught in an unseen breeze. I bent down to pick one up, my fingers brushing against the fragile paper. Felt warm, almost alive. As I held it, words began to form in my mind, as if the letter was speaking to me directly. I could see the family's faces, their anguish, their longing for a peaceful resolution. I felt their hopes intertwining with my own, urging me to push forward, to confront whatever darkness still roamed. Suddenly, the hum crescendoed, rising to a deafening pitch. The shadows flickered violently, and I sensed a presence materializing in the room, a dark figure, cloaked in swirling tendrils, its form shifting and indistinct. The air grew dense, suffocating, wrapping around me like an icy grip. "Leave," it hissed, the sound echoing through the walls. "You have no right to disturb what should remain buried." I steeled myself, heart pounding. "I won't let you hurt them anymore," I shouted, voice strong despite the fear coursing through me. I clutched the letter tightly, its warmth radiating through my fingers, and stepped forward. The figure recoiled slightly, the shadows writhing as if in pain. "You cannot save them," it spat, the words dripping with malice. "They are mine. Their grief feeds me. You cannot erase their suffering." But I felt a spark of defiance igniting within me. "Their suffering ends now," I declared, and began to read the letter aloud, my voice ringing through the dim room. "They were betrayed, yes, but they are more than their pain. They deserve to be remembered for their love, their joy, not just their loss." As I spoke, the darkness writhed, and I could see glimpses of the family within its shadows that flickered and dimmed, their faces twisted in torment but slowly softening as I continued. The hum began to shift, a discordant harmony rising in response to my words. The dark figure snarled, its form flickering erratically as if struggling against my words. "You think you can change history?" It seethed, the shadows swirling violently around it. "They belong to me." "No," I insisted, raising my voice. "They belong to the light. They deserve to be remembered for who they truly were." The shadows recoiled, and I felt the energy in the room change, becoming charged with something electric. I realized then that I was not just fighting for their release, I was challenging the very essence of the darkness that had claimed them. As I read the final lines of the letter, a bright light surged from within me, radiating outward, pushing against the suffocating darkness. The figure howled, the sound reverberating through the room, and I felt its anger washing over me like a wave. But I stood my ground, channeling every ounce of strength and resolve. With one last declaration, I called out, "You will not take them. Their story will not be silenced." As the final words left my lips, the light exploded, enveloping the room in a brilliant glow. I was momentarily blinded, but I felt the warmth surround me, washing away the chill, the fear, and the shadows. When the light began to fade, I slowly opened my eyes, and what I saw stole the breath from my lungs. The dark figure had disintegrated into a cloud of mist, dissipating like smoke in the wind, leaving behind a palpable sense of relief. The shadows that had once lurked in the corners melted away, and the basement felt open, expansive, filled with the remnants of hope. I looked around, heart pounding, sensing the spirits of the family gathering around me, their forms becoming clearer, radiant with gratitude. They were no longer bound by their grief, but instead shimmering with a soft, ethereal light. But just as I thought they were free, I felt a tug at my consciousness, a faint whisper that sent a shiver down my spine. "You must remember," the woman's voice echoed, this time softer, yet filled with an urgent undertone. There are other shadows that linger, other stories that need to be told. I nodded, understanding dawning on me. The battle was not just about this family. There were more secrets hidden within the walls of this house, stories waiting to emerge. I had awakened something powerful, and the echoes of the past were still lurking in the dark corners. The woman smiled, her expression one of both gratitude and sorrow. "Thank you for your bravery," she said, her voice a soothing balm against the remnants of fear. "But the house holds many memories, and not all are ready to be released. You have a greater purpose here." I felt the weight of her words settling in my chest, realizing that I had only scratched the surface of the house's history. The journey I had embarked upon was far from over. I needed to uncover the layers of this place, to shine a light on the darkness that still clung to its very foundation. As I took a deep breath, I knew I had to continue. There were more stories to tell, more spirits to set free. I felt the remnants of their warmth surrounding me, and with newfound resolve, I stepped back toward the entrance of the hidden room. But as I crossed the threshold, I caught sight of something on the floor, a small, weathered object glinting in the remaining light. My heart raced as I bent down to pick it up. It was a locket, intricately designed, its surface cold against my palm. As I opened it, a soft gasp escaped my lips. Inside were two portraits, a man and a woman, their eyes filled with a haunting sadness that mirrored the family I had just released. This was yet another story, another sorrow waiting to be unveiled. The air thickened around me, and I knew that I had stumbled upon the next chapter of this house's haunting tale. I was no longer just a visitor, I was a keeper of its stories, a bridge between the living and the dead. With the locket in hand, I stepped back into the hallway, determination coursing through me. The whispers were still there, urging me onward. I would not stop until every shadow was brought to light, every spirit set free. The house had revealed itself to me, and I would honor its stories, one haunting revelation at a time. As I stood there in the dim hallway, the locket still warm in my palm, I felt the weight of the house's history pressing against me. The whispers grew louder, swirling around, intertwining with the echoes of the family I had just set free. They were urging me onward, guiding me to uncover the secrets that still lay hidden within these walls. With a deep breath, I turned and made my way back to the living room, the locket clutched tightly. I needed to find out who these faces belonged to and what part they played in the story of the house. The journal still lay open on the desk, its pages filled with the family's heartache, and I felt a pull to search for any mention of the locket or the couple it contained. I flipped through the brittle pages, scanning for any clues. As I read, I stumbled upon a name, Margaret. The letters mentioned a sister, one who had gone missing years ago under mysterious circumstances. I felt a chill creep down my spine. Perhaps this was her locket. The journal detailed a rift between Margaret and her family, fueled by jealousy and misunderstandings. It mentioned a man named Thomas, someone who had captured her heart, but whose intentions were always questioned. My heart raced as I pieced together the fragments of their story. They were intertwined in a tragedy that had not only torn the family apart, but also left Margaret's spirit trapped in the house. I knew I had to find out more. I carefully placed the locket around my neck, feeling its cold metal against my skin. It felt significant, like a talisman connecting me to the very essence of the house's history. As night fell, I ventured to the attic, where the air felt thicker, imbued with the weight of forgotten dreams. Dust motes floated lazily in the beam of my flashlight as I navigated the cluttered space, filled with relics of the past, old toys, faded photographs, and trunks piled high. In the corner, I spotted a small, ornate box. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and something about it called to me. I opened it carefully, revealing an assortment of letters tied with a fraying ribbon. As I unfolded them, I recognized Margaret's handwriting, flowing and elegant. The letters detailed her love for Thomas, the heartache of being misunderstood by her family, and her growing desperation to escape the confines of her life. In one letter, she expressed her longing to leave the house and the pain it held, but it was also filled with an ominous warning. If they do not understand my choice, They will lose me forever. Tears welled in my eyes as I realized the depth of her sorrow. She had been seeking freedom, but instead, she had become ensnared in the very darkness she wished to escape. I could feel her presence surrounding me, a ghost of unfulfilled dreams, and it compelled me to continue reading. The last letter was different. It was written in a hurried, frantic hand. Margaret spoke of a night when Thomas had come to see her secretly, the tension between them palpable. She mentioned an argument with her family that had escalated into something terrible, culminating in a desperate choice that had sealed her fate. As I read her final words, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. A cold breeze swept through the attic, and I sensed the spirits of both Margaret and Thomas. I could feel their unresolved emotions swirling, the desperation for understanding and closure filling the space around me. "Margaret," I whispered, holding the locket close to my heart. "I know your pain. You deserve peace." The shadows in the attic danced, swirling around me, and I felt a surge of energy. "You must tell your story," I said, my voice strong. "You deserve to be remembered for who you were, not just for how you left." With that declaration, I began to read the letters aloud, pouring every ounce of compassion into my voice. I could feel the weight of Margaret's sorrow lifting as I recounted her dreams, her love, her struggles. Each word seemed to resonate with the shadows, coaxing them into the light. As I finished the last letter, the air around me shimmered. I could see Margaret's spirit clearly now, her form brightening, her expression shifting from despair to relief. Beside her, Thomas appeared, a look of longing in his eyes. "Thank you," Margaret whispered, her voice echoing like a soft melody. "We were lost, but now we can be free." As the words left her lips, the attic filled with a warm light, enveloping the two spirits. I felt their gratitude wash over me, a sense of profound peace settling in the air. The darkness that had clung to them began to dissolve, the shadows receding as they embraced the light. "I will remember you," I promised, my voice breaking. "Your story will not be forgotten." With a final, radiant smile, Margaret and Thomas stepped into the light together, their figures merging until they disappeared entirely, leaving behind an echo of love and gratitude. The attic felt different now, the air lighter, filled with a sense of completion. I wiped the tears from my cheeks, a mix of sadness and joy flooding through me. I had uncovered the truth, but I knew this house still held more stories, more spirits waiting for their chance to be heard. As I descended the attic stairs, the whispers had transformed, now gentle and reassuring, guiding me to the next chapter. I was determined to honor the memories of those who had once called this place home, to shine a light on the past so that no more shadows could take hold. With the locket still resting against my chest, I moved through the house, feeling an unbreakable connection to the lives that had been intertwined with mine. Each room felt charged with energy, stories echoing in the corners, urging me to listen and to remember. And as I stepped into the living room, I knew that I was no longer just a visitor. I had become the guardian of their tales, the keeper of their truths. I would continue to unveil the mysteries of this house, honoring the spirits that had once dwelled here, ensuring that their legacies would shine brightly, illuminating the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. The house would no longer be a vessel of sorrow. It would be a sanctuary for memories, a place where love transcended the boundaries of life and death. And with that thought, I smiled, ready to embark on the next part of this extraordinary journey. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.